Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm here to preach. This is the first episode of Tea and a Reasoning for the new year. It's my podcast series that I share on this channel where I just make tea and we sit down and hold our reasoning. Today's topic is actually something that I have been reflecting on for the past couple of weeks, and I figured that I would share some of my musings with you in hope that it not only encourages me but also encourages you. So this video is as much for me as it is for you, so I hope you enjoy. So today we're talking about anxiety surrounding the future, and to be honest with you, I think probably since like mid last year to now, I have been thinking, or dare I say living, quite a bit in the future, thinking about what my next steps will be and what life will look like in the next couple of months, and it has brought me quite a bit of anxiety. And one of the things that I was thinking about is being present, right? And so if you watched any of my previous videos, you'll know that I'm currently in grad school, and I think throughout my life, like growing up until now, I have always thought about the next step, right? Like, what will the next step be? What do I need to do to get there, and so on. And I feel like looking back, I find that the nostalgia is very strong, and I think personally for me it's because I wasn't as present in those moments as I could have been, right? And so as I've been reflecting on my time in grad school, in fact, as I've been reflecting on my previous years in grad school leading up to now, I realized that I wasn't present at all. I was thinking about what the next year of grad school would be like and what the next year of grad school would be like. I would be thinking about all of the obstacles and the learning struggles that were going on. And so that definitely took a lot of time being present away from me. I always hear this thing where people say, be where your feet are. Basically what that means is really standing in the moment that you are in and experiencing it to the fullest, right? Like really sitting with that moment and experiencing it and embracing it and really relishing it, because each moment that we have, we only have it in that moment, right? And then after that, it becomes a memory that you either feel, oh man, I wish I was a little bit more present in that moment. I wish I had savored it more. I wish I had been more grateful too. And I think living in the future or being too obsessed with what your future will be, that takes away from your ability to be grateful, because you're constantly thinking about what's next, but you don't really take the time to really sit in this particular moment and even realize that this particular moment that you're experiencing, a past version of you wished for this moment, you know what I mean? And so basically all of this to say is that I've been trying to be a little bit more present, because yes, you have this dream, or I guess in my particular case, for example, I had this dream of coming to Cornell for grad school, right? And in pursuing my goals, I didn't take a lot of time to really be like, wow, I'm at Cornell doing the thing that I said I wanted to do, and really experiencing each and every moment, right? I was more like, okay, now I'm at Cornell, now I need to finish, and what's next? While preparing for the future is definitely something that I highly recommend, and something that I definitely would not discourage you from doing. I think that sometimes in preparing for the future, we can get overindulgent and then forget that the present moment is all that we really have. And so even in the Bible, it says that tomorrow has its own trouble. I will try to find the verse and insert it, but tomorrow has its own trouble. In fact, it's not even promised, right? So you don't know if you're going to be here for that future. And I'm not saying this to be morbid, but I'm simply saying it to drive home the point that yes, the future is important, right? And you want it to be the best that it can be. But you also have to prepare, and in that preparation, that requires you being present, right? Because if you don't know where you are, then how will you know what to prepare? And what I mean by this is that if you're present with yourself and you know the goals that you have for your future, you can reflect on the personality traits that you need to develop further in order to be the person that you need to be to achieve those goals. If you're busy just focusing just on the future without taking the necessary self-inventory, then you're going to get to your goals and mishandle them. My interpretation of tomorrow has its own worries is that you're busy worrying about tomorrow, that you're not paying attention to the things happening today. So like, yes, tomorrow has its own worry. Like, let that be something that you deal with tomorrow. Can you imagine dealing with the worries that are relevant to today and adding the worries of the future to that? No wonder we're so anxious and worried and worked up, because we're adding unnecessary stress and overwhelming ourselves with things that aren't even here yet. There are two things that cause anxiety in terms of the timing of our life or the trajectory of our life, and it's one, living in the past, and two, living in the future. And so we tend to be caught up in either one of those, and we forget that the present is also important. In terms of making sure that you're planning for your future, of course, you want to make sure that you're not neglecting today, because sometimes when we're living in the future, we could potentially burn ourselves out trying to prepare for the future, right? But you also want to make sure that you're not taking the present for granted. And what that could mean is people in relationships are important. If you're busy living in the future and worrying about the future, you might forget to nurture those relationships. Another thing too, in terms of the future, is, for at least for me, like my personality trait is that I don't like uncertainty. I like to be sure of like what's coming next, right? I don't like when things are up in the air. I don't like when I don't know exactly what is going on. And so that brings me quite a bit of anxiety, because of course we never know what's going to happen in the future. We can only plan things, right? And they either work out or they don't. But we are not the all-knowing creator, so we have no idea what's going to happen in the next minute, the next hour, the next day, the next month, the next year, right? The next couple of years. A big part of being present and not living too much in the future is dependent on your ability to trust God and also to humble yourself, right? Because you can't trust God without being humble enough to relinquish control, right? Oh my God. Your inability to trust God is because you are proud. That is crazy. And it's insane how much unwarranted stress, anxiety we cause ourselves because of our pride, because of our unwillingness to let go of control, to cast your cares on Him like He asked you to. And your cares don't just mean things like things that are causing you pain or things that are worrying you, but it can also be your plans, your hopes, your dreams. Like, give all of those things to Him and trust that He will order your steps, that He will create something good, even better than you can imagine, right? And so it's interesting how we can make these plans in our minds and we think of them as grand and as the best thing that could possibly happen to us. Meanwhile, God is looking at them being like, you're thinking small, think big, right? And so, like, His thoughts are not our thoughts and His ways are not our ways. So the plans that He has for us are much, much more fruitful. Tomorrow is promised to no one. All you have is today. All you have is right now. All that is guaranteed is right in this moment that you have. We would be a lot less anxious if we took the time to really sit in the present experience and embrace that experience, live it to the fullest, right? That's what living your life to the fullest is. It's relishing every single moment that you are blessed with life, and you can't do that if you are constantly thinking about what's next. In fact, as I reflected on my life, I've definitely identified moments in my life that I'm looking back on and I'm like, wow, I wish I was a lot more present in that moment. I wish I wasn't so preoccupied with the future, with what was coming next, right? That it took away from my ability to really enjoy those moments. Even memories from high school, I miss those memories a lot, or those moments a lot when I look back. And that's because I was thinking a lot about the future. Like, I wanted to grow up and get independence and all of that stuff. And I look back and I'm like, oh, I miss those days. And I feel like now I don't want that to be how things are, where I'm constantly looking back at moments in my life and being like, wow, I should have been more present. I should have been more in the moment, right? And I definitely have those moments in grad school also, because in my earlier grad school years, I was like preoccupied with learning things and learning them quickly. And okay, what do I need to learn next? What do I need to learn? How quickly do I need to learn it? What do I need to do to learn it? What's gonna come after grad school? What jobs do I need to apply for, right? Like, where do I need to be? Where will I be, right? And I didn't take the time out to really sit and just realize that I am in grad school. If we really give ourselves the time to really sit and think about where we are presently, we will realize that there was a past version of us who wanted to be in the moment that we're currently in, right? A past version of you that prayed to be there, right? I remember being in undergrad, working towards my applications for graduate school, and now I'm here, living in the future and worrying or being preoccupied about what's next takes away our ability to be grateful for where we currently are. Because if you think about that past version of yourself, you'll realize how much faith it took to believe and to work towards getting here. So friends, as I end this episode, I want to leave you with a few things. 1, be present. Be where your feet are. Take the time to celebrate your wins. Remember that every moment that you experience is where you're supposed to be at that specific time. The mere fact that you're not in the future means that you're supposed to be right where you are. You're here for a reason. And so if you were supposed to be in the future, that's where you would be. This is where you're supposed to be. So be present, enjoy this moment, be with this version of yourself, because this version of yourself will not be here tomorrow or the next day or the next day. And then the next thing is to cast all of your cares onto God. Those New Year's goals that you made, right? Those career goals that you have, those relationship goals that you have, both familial, romantic, platonic, whatever the case may be, those financial goals that you have, right? Those health goals that you have, write them down, lay them at His feet. If you have to do it repeatedly, do it, pray without ceasing, right? And be brave enough and humble enough to let God order your steps. He is the author of every single one of our lives, right? And everything that happens in our lives is intentionally orchestrated by Him for our highest good. So all that we need to do is to show Him that we trust Him. Your future is bright. There are good things in store for you. He said that He knows the plans that He has for you. Plans to prosper you, plans for hope and a future, not to destroy you. And so sometimes what comes next might not feel good. What comes next might feel uncomfortable. But there's a purpose for it. Every discomfort, there's a purpose. Every challenge, there's a purpose. It is meant to develop you and to mold you into the person that God has created you to be. Also to develop you for the future that He has already prepared for you. So be encouraged, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.